Hello guys, Mature Hero here. Today, um, I'm here to talk about the Disney buying Marvel deal. Been hearing a lot of ruckus about it for the past while now, ever since it happened, which is about a week ago. I'm a Deadpool fan, so, I was pretty worried at first because he's a pretty graphic character and violence and everything in his comics. Until I really actually went over their deal and I was like, this doesn't sound so bad. This could actually probably help Marvel out, having like their characters all around in Disney stores and theme parks and stuff that they have like internationally, so it can actually promote them and help them be a better business company for all we know. I mean, just because they're Disney, I don't even like Disney. I mean, I might watch an occasional episode of something of theirs, but I hate the Jonas Brothers, and I'm just not too big of a fan. And another thing with this deal is, you know, people are so worried that their comics that they love and that they get every week or whenever you get your comics, they're so worried and concerned that they're going to be affected. That's also a concern that I had at first, but like I already went over it, I think this could actually help Marvel, and Disney basically made it clear, yeah, they could be lying, they're a business, so it's not the first time we see a business lie, but they have no concerns or like wishes to change anything with the comics. They complimented Marvel on that, what they do. I mean, so I'm not too worried about their comics, and so that's the main thing I care about. Next would be the movies, which Marvel said, or not Marvel, but Disney went over saying that they would like to have full control over those, basically, like after the current contracts with the other movie producers are up, so they'll have full control of the movies probably. But other than that, it's Disney. You know, not all their movies are bad. They also work with some other movie companies. I think Miramax is one, and they have R-rated stuff. And Marvel, like R-rated stuff, even if like Disney wasn't for R-rated movies. Marvel already went over and said that they're not doing any more R-rated films anyways. And so, that's not too big of a threat. And Disney's a pretty big company. They could probably like produce some pretty good animated movies for Marvel. I mean, Marvel's kind of lacking in that department, in my opinion. The only one that I really like of theirs is the Hulk versus, and that's the only thing that I really like from them that's animated. I didn't like that Kid Avengers one, and the Avengers ones were okay, but they could have been better in my opinion. Um, so like that's how I feel about that. The next thing now is people are worried about, as I said, like whether Disney's gonna ruin Marvel stuff. What if Marvel actually influences Disney's stuff, like their past stuff and current stuff and future stuff? Maybe they could make some Disney stuff more interesting. It's not, they're like working together, so they could probably both help each other out. I mean, just imagine like a gorier version or like more action version of like some of the good old stuff that they had, like Pocahontas and Lion King and The Little Mermaid and all the other stuff that people of all kinds enjoyed, but they don't really make movies like they used to. So maybe with the Marvel, Marvel could help them with that. Who knows? Maybe they could be back on their game again with those movies. And but there's just not too much to be worried about, in my opinion. DC's owned by Warner Brothers, and they have the Looney Tunes, and you don't see them like affecting their comics life. I mean, there was that Daffy Duck, the Green Lantern, or actually I think it was Looney Tunes, something about a Green Lantern comic. And if you go to comicvine.com and read a staff member's article about Disney buying Marvel, his name is Inferior Ego, it's his username. He made a big article about that deal, and he sounded like he actually enjoyed that Green Lantern. I mean, just because it's a kid company doesn't mean that they're gonna make like another company that they work with all kidified. I mean, yeah, the movies that they plan on making eventually when the current contracts are up with, they might be a little bit kiddier than we want, but you never know. They might keep it the way that we like it because they know if they change it, they're going to lose fans and money. Another thing is, his DC's president actually resigned today, or maybe it wasn't today, but the point is he resigned, and now there's this new thing called DC Entertainment. So the DC universe is now changing. Probably, they saw the whole thing with Disney buying Marvel, so, they're going to try something new. It's probably Marvel's biggest rival. Yeah, their new deal. Maybe, people are already starting to panic about that. You know, theirs, in my opinion, kind of sounds like it's probably worse than this Disney buying Marvel. I mean, they lost their president, and now they have this new president of this DC Entertainment, and she's a lady, and she doesn't like work too much with comics or know too much about them, or it sounds like. So, I mean, at least their president who resigned, he wrote comics before, and that's what he went back to do is writing comics. This new lady that they have, for all we know, she probably doesn't even know like the whole Justice League team or like Superman's weakness for all we know. I mean, DC's changing too. I mean, the comic world's just gonna start changing now. It seems like, and it's probably could be for the best. Back in the '90s, comics almost were gone for good. There would be no more comics today if things would have got worse. And with Disney owning Marvel now, that's an extra little cushion for them to fall back on if things go back to like they were in the '90s. And DC, maybe they have the same thing with this DC Entertainment. You know, that lady, she just worked with some other stuff. I know she was like I think connected to the Harry Potter films, and people have that as their excuse saying, "Oh, they were close to the books and the movies. They were close." So just because of that, they think that you know she knows what she's doing, and she won't affect the comics. And then, but as I've heard, wasn't the latest Harry Potter movie not so connected as like compared to the book? They weren't too similar. I mean, I saw the movie, but I didn't read the whole series of the book, so I don't know. But I heard that the movie was kind of different from the book, which is common, but I heard it was more different than they usually are. But I'm not here to talk about Harry Potter. But you know, Disney's new owning Marvel thing, that could be for the best, maybe could be for worse, but I'm hoping for the best. That's the best thing that you can always do is just hope for the best. And same with DC. I don't read too many of their comics, but hopefully this new DC Entertainment's for the best for them too. I mean, just because I don't read too many of their comics doesn't mean I wish for them to fail. But just keep in mind what I said and my thoughts, and especially like the what part. If Marvel affects Disney, I mean, but I got my point across, and hopefully, everything works out for the best, and all we got to do is that. So now I'm my other videos if you like. Thanks for listening, guys.